Hello, I'm Carl Cardarelli with MoXi Global Mortgage here with Troy.
Hello, all. My name's Troy, mortgage advisor here with MoXi Global Mortgage. We're going to talk about some qualifications today. If you bought a property in the U.S., it's very similar. We need to qualify you with your U.S. credit, income, and assets, all in the U.S. Again, very similar to if you bought a property in the U.S. Carl?
Keep in mind the main difference. We're hitting you with obviously your current liabilities, what you currently have, your existing house, plus the liability of the subject property. We're going to hit you with the the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, and fideicomiso. We're one way. It just, if you're going to offset the liability of your home, you can do that if you're living in Mexico as your primary residence. We do have to documentate that particular by lease agreement, and then a deposit of the rent check for that particular one. So that is one way if you are looking to purchase property in Mexico, and Mexico is going to be your primary residence. You can do that, but you have to actually, have the exiting property set up in terms of documentation for the, rent schedule of that particular property.
Good. Right. One thing I will say that's a little bit different and tighter are the debt to income ratios in Mexico. We're set at 38 and 41%, no matter how much equity you have in other properties. I hear that a lot. But we're set at those debt to income ratios. We deal with a lot of self-employed borrowers. Bring them, right? We love to work with self-employed borrowers. I enjoy rolling through taxes to see what we can squeeze out after all deductions. But yes, the debt to income ratios are set.
Yeah, and then going off of that, credit, we're pulling credit just like we're pulling credit on a existing mortgage in the States. So we're going to use your mid score, you're between the three bureaus, and at 65% loan to value, we're going 720 and above. Anything below 720 to 700, we're going to require 50% down payment. If you're below the 700 range, we can look at would have to wait until you get your scores up to the 700 range in order to qualify you. But keep that in mind in terms of getting everything ready. Also, make sure that when you are applying, for a loan, whether it's with us or with any other institution, make sure that you're not, maxing out your cards or having your cards already maxed out. Even when you paid it, because when the bureaus are reporting it, sometimes there's a little bit of a lag when they're looking at that particular credit report. So you might have paid everything off. In your side, you think, oh, everything's done. But when we pull the credit, sometimes that snapshot is going to show, if it's maxed out debt and you paid it down, it's going to show whatever the bureaus posted from the credit card company at that particular time. And that could post either lower scores, obviously higher ratios in terms of the liability wise. So keep that in mind.
And it's also good to note the assets that we verify, 401ks, IRAs, stocks, bonds, checking and savings. Those are the accounts that we have to use for your down payment and closing costs. When we get to the table, we can't have an outside source, $100,000 wired in from nowhere. That's very common in the States too, right? Just from the asset accounts that we're verifying.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, you got to be very careful or not careful, but make sure you document everything that's in terms of the deposits that are in your accounts.
Right.
And make sure everything is seasoned at least 2 months, so that when we're seeing that snapshot, whatever that's in there, make sure everything has been seasoned and documented for that 2-month snapshot of what we're looking at in terms of the assets. The other thing that we can, talk about too as well is, title in Mexico. Some parts of Mexico, we'll pull title insurance, and then in some parts we're going to do a lawyer's title opinion. So there's going to be differences towards that, between that. Most of the like Santana Row area, you're going to have that lawyer's title opinion for that particular area. And then for most of it, we're going to be pulling title, and that's going to be important because we want to make sure that what we're looking at we have legal transferable title, so that as an investor, and more importantly as a buyer, you have a hand that is a deed in hand that is, legally transferable over to you.
And at the end of the day, we're protecting our asset, we're protecting our collateral, we're protecting our borrower. And that's why we have an army of legal representation. Not necessarily army, but 4 to 5. And they work across the hall, and they work well with us. They cross all T's and dot all I's all the way through, and they'll be working with you as we work with you on the approval side. They're working right along with us on the legal side to make sure that that title is clear. There's no encumbrances, there's no liens, there's no issues, no problems. Ordering that appraisal. And one thing to keep in mind too, patience. Have patience, because it does take a little bit longer to get title in Mexico. We can't zip a title, request a title report from First American Title and have it in 72 hours. It can take a little bit longer down there, which I'm sure you can imagine. But having patience, communicating with us, and as we communicate with you on a regular basis to give you updates. At the end of the day, we all want to get the transaction to the finish line, so you can move into your new home next to the beach, on the beach.
Yeah, exactly. See, and I can't agree more. I mean, enjoy the ride with us, because it is different buying in Mexico versus the States. From across the board, everything is a little bit slower. It's not like when you're buying in the States, you can close in 30 days, 45 days, 60 days at tops.
Right.
In Mexico, it's a little bit more challenging because of a lot of the stuff that we're doing. It's more on the legal side, the property side, and getting things done, takes a little bit more time. So, like Troy said, have the patience and enjoy the time with us, and we'll make it as professional and comfortable and as educated throughout the process of getting a loan through us.
And I get this question all the time, probably 3 times a day. What are the rates? What are the rates? Rates are priced just like in the States. Credit score, huge piece. Higher the credit score, better the rate. Loan to value, huge piece. Loan amount. Those 3 are going to determine your rate. We don't lock an interest rate on a 30 or 45 or 60-day lock like we do in the States. We lock it 24 to 48 hours prior to closing, because the market is up and down. So just keep that in mind. But that credit score is a big piece. And thank you all for watching and listening to us. This is a real deal. This is a real loan. I get that question all the time. This is 100% real. And you have more questions, which I'm sure that you will, please reach out to us directly at any time.